Today we're commencing to learn the second Pedic of Bava Metzia, which in many yeshivas is the very first Pedic, the very first expose to learning Gemara. You're a kid, this is it. Elu Metzia Shaloi ve'elu Chai B'Hachim. Following Metzia belong to you, and the following ones you have to announce. It's not just that you don't have to announce it, but they are actually yours. And because we assume the owner abandoned hope. Follow Metzias are yours. Matzah. Now we're going to learn the Gemara that on the argument of the Bible, if somebody's not aware that he lost something, but had he been aware, he would have definitely given up hope. Would do we assume as if it's already given up hope and you can keep it, or do we say no? When you picked it up, he hasn't given up hope, so you already have a chiyuv of hashava returning it. And even though afterwards he did give up hope, let's say when he found out, once as Ramban and many learn, once you picked it up and you have a mitzvah shava, you become now like an extension of the owner. You're like a shemer, and you cannot make yush if it's in your house. It's a view of the Ramban and many others, because the whole idea of yush is you're walking away from it. You can't walk away from something that's in your house, and your house constantly reacquiring it again for you. Yush can only happen if it's outside your rishus. And hefker, according to many, can only happen if it's inside your rishus. Because the two, as we discussed in the past, the two different years you walk away, and hefker you're giving away. Anyway, so matzah peiros on, you found scattered fruits. According to Maya, you're already aware of it. Therefore, you're miyayish. We'll see how you're aware of it already. And according to Rava, had you known, you would have been miyayish. Money scattered, same thing. No simon. Bundles, but only if it's in Rishus Rabin. Had these bundles been in Rishus Yochid, you would have to call them out. Because they're big, and we'll have the Gemara later in a few days from now an argument whether the place where it was found is that a simon itself. If you learn it is, that's why in Rishus Yochid you would have to announce it, because you'll say where it fell. On the other hand, Rishus Rabin, there's no simon because it keeps on getting pushed around. People are constantly walking there. Plus, whether a simon ha'asr l'daras have a simon or not, a simon that people walk on it, they break it, is it still considered a simon or not? So in Rishus Yochid it would be, but Rishus Rabin, no. The igul idvela, pressed figs, a cake of pressed figs, kikre shonachton, and loaves of bread of a baker, because they're all uniform. Machruza shodogim, a string of fish, because that's how they sell it. And therefore, again, there's no simon here. The chaticha shabacha, strips of meat. We'll see more later. Sometimes strips of meat can have a special kind of cut. Gizeh tzemer halakuchim midinasan, strips of wool. Again, anything which is common and universal, there's no simon, you can keep. And according to buying all of these cases, you were aware that you lost it, so therefore you were miyayish already, abandoned hope. Anitze pishton, and a piece of flax, l'shonish lagaman, and tongues of wool, all of these cases, they're yours. Divrei Rab Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol sheyesh boy shinui chayvach, anything which is out of the ordinary, so it has a simon, you have to announce. For example, Ketzad, matzah agol b'terech cheres. You found this around Kega pressed figs, but it was found with a piece of clay, which is not common. So that could be a simon. Kikar, over teichamay, a loaf of bread, and inside is money. That's not common. So what exactly is the argument? Sorry?
Sorry, I was going to say, is he necessarily arguing for Meir?
Oh, what exactly is the argument from Meir and Rabbi Yehuda? So we'll see in the Gemara later, they're arguing about a simon haba me'elov. You didn't deliberately make a simon, a piece of clay shard fell in. Is that considered a simon? Simon that you can recognize, if nobody put it there, you wouldn't put a piece of clay shard inside there, it must have fell in. Is that considered a simon? Meir holds no. And the Yehuda says yes.
So you baked a loaf of bread, it came out in a weird shape.
No, that's something else. If you deliberately shape the bread, if it came up by itself, yeah. So anything which, yeah, okay. Shimon Elazar says, "Kol kli ampuya." You make it
there's similar things out there, but if you have something that's not similar to anything, you're making a simon.
Not if a piece of clay. You have a piece of clay.
Obvious.
We'll see more later. But if it's obvious, yeah, that's we'll see.
Okay. This week maybe.
A triangle piece of meat, the Gemara uses as an example as you shape it. You're right this weekend. Kol kli ampuria, any kli ampuria. Ampuria is actually ein poiraya. Any new vessel. Ein chaylach, enough to announce it. Says the Gemara, first of all, you found scattered fruits. When you say scattered, what's the definition of scattered? In what kind of area is it? It says a kaven 4 amos. So what are we talking about? If it fell down and it fell to an ami. If it fell down and it looks like the guy had no idea that it fell down, then even if you have, let's say, a kav and two am or more than a kav, two kav, same thing. So it fell down. Then even let's say it was a kav and a half. Since there's no simon on it, the guy probably abandoned hope. And he did put it down. If he did place it down, I don't care. If it's a half a kav, obviously it's coming back to retrieve it. So what do you mean is a kav? Now Rabbi Yitzchak, it's clear, as Seish always trying to point out, Yitzchak is talking to himself. Something more saying a sentence and then asking a question. Then why make the sentence in the first place? He's sort of leading up to, he's explaining. I want a book about Chama. The Machnashta de Veidoriaskin. When do we make, if definitely right, doesn't matter how many you can keep it. If it's not definitely no matter how few, you cannot keep it. But it's talking about here, Machnashta de Veidoriaskin. We're talking about over here is that while you were collecting and you're finishing the crop, and here you began threshing, and you took most of it away and left these behind. So what's our understanding? Will he come back to retrieve these little bit that he left behind or not? So it depends. It's a big bother, and it's a relative big bother, because it's not such a big amount, and it's a big bother. Then we won't come back. But if it's less than that, if for example a kav and 3 amas, yes, right, then torach v'hader, then relative to the amount, the tircha is minimal, he'll come back, v'shak will take it. But the mafkli won't be make it hefker.
How far the scatter is.
And the relative amount. It's both. Now, of course, who else will come in and ask, and I'll break it down exactly what you said. Boy, Rabbi asked the following question. Is the main emphasis on the amount or the area, the size of the area? So boy Rabbi Meir. So what about if it's chatzi kav v'shtei amas ma'u, a half a kav in 2 amas? What would it do?
Proportionately the same.
Exactly. So do we say kav? Right now we're understanding proportion exactly the same. Do we say kav amas? Time. Remember what's the reason we should know if the chai is a big bother? Chatzi kav v'shtei amas, half a kav 2 amas. Given lo yinav v'chayu, it's not a big bother. Lo mafkalu. You won't make it hefker because 2 amas is not a big bother. Or you must chashivi. If the word to the kav is not really worth the while, but a chatzi kav is even less valuable, and surely mafki bin mafker. Tais is not a shayna mask. Every kav in 4 amas has in it 2 half kav and 2 amas. So what's the question? If a person would pick up a half a kav and 2 amas, if there's a kav in 4 amas, he'll come there and pick up the half a kav. Because every kav has in it 2 parts. Each kav has in it 2 half kavs, and in the 4 amas you have two lots of 2 amas. So therefore, if you're going to tell me, will a person come to collect a half a kav of 2 amas? So he could go. Then he kav in 4 amas he should ready to keep because he will collect at least a half a kav of the 2 amas. That's Teja's in all the sharing questions. So Teja's first answer is, and Moni learned that all or nothing. You're not going to come back for half. So if the entire lot is a half a kav and 2 amas, you pick it up. But if the entire lot is a kav and 4 amas, it's too big a bother. You're not going to come pick up even the half a kav. But Teish's second answer is interesting, which means the first answer doesn't agree with it. But many Shem don't, and that is a kav and 2 amas is not half of a chatzi kav and 2 amas is not half of a kav and 4 amas. 4 amas is 4 amas squared, 4 by 4 by 4. 2 amas is 2 amas squared. 4 by 4 is 16 amas. 2 amas is 4 amas. It's a quarter. You're right. If it would have been half, it wouldn't even be a shiloh. Of course, you wouldn't come pick it up. It's because it's such a small area now. 2 square well, it didn't be. Which means that Teish's first answer, like most of the Shine learned, that a chatzi kav b'shtei amas means 2 by 4. It's exactly half, and therefore, what's the shiloh? The shiloh is because all or nothing. Okay, and the same thing here. Same machlekes Hashem we have in the next one. Kabayim b'shmay amas. Is it 8 by 8 or 8 by 4? According to Teish's second answer, will be 8 by 8. According to Teish's first answer, will be 8 by 4. Exactly double. It's a big bother. Do this to 8 amas. Much greater bother. Much greater. Is about a kav is not chashiv. But kabayim, which is so much more chashiv, even though short amas, because it's all relative. You have to do 2 variables there. Which is the main one? The chashivus or the tircha. What about kav shumshum? Right, so we see bar bamas. Now here, it's much more valuable, but the tircha is much greater as well. Ma kaba arba time either using the chashivi the kosher v'shum but it comes to property game the chashivi is much more valuable and mafki won't be mafki come and collect and as difficult as it is. I didn't look enough fish to chay. The main kvetcher is that's a big bother. Chosh game shum. Even the novice has a big bother. It's very mafki will be mafki. What about kav tamari barbamas? Dates. They're much easier to collect because they're large, or kavri mini barbamas, pomegranates. Especially Israeli ones, those massive ones.
Is this all Rabbi Yirmiyah?
Yeah, so he can't help himself.
No one cut him off.
No. In fact, they decide, Lord, Elio, and you will deal with this. Leave us out of it. Kav Babamas, time of my, what's the reason? Shalech Shivi, Nachosha, Kav Tamri Babamas, Kav Mani Babamas, Namiki, Nachosha, Mafna Mafna. A Yimosh, the Fisher Tachai, a big bother, the Kav Tamri Babamas, Kav Mani Babamas, Kim learn that they're not a bother, Loy Mafkalahu. My, what's the then finally? Feiku. Now the Rambam has a different pshat here. The Rambam learned that the pshat here is that not one question was Shum Shemay, another question was Shmardim and the Mardim. All three were together. So if it's one min, like this, and according to the Rambam, the question is very different. By one min, if Kaaba, Rambam, you won't come and collect. But if it's three different minim, which means that each one's only a third of the lot, maybe you will come to collect because it's far less tircha. Because you don't have to go. You just look around, spot the pomegranates, and you'll take them. So according to the Rambam, it's a different shiloh altogether. Eat mobilin. Yeyush shalei medas. If you were meyayish and you had no idea, you were not meyayish, you had no idea that you lost it. Abaye says, "Why have yesh?" Why not? Because you didn't know. And Rava says, "Have yesh." It is yesh. And the Gemara says, "The Gemara explains." The Gemara delineates. But Dava she yesh by simon. If there's a simon kuliyamel tvigav yesh, because even if you would have known that you dropped it, you wouldn't give up hope straight away. You're hoping that somebody would find it and announce it that you found something simon. Even if we heard in the actual end, well, have a yesh, not yesh. Why? When it came to his hand, it came to Isur. I saw what, but he didn't steal it, but it belonged. He had a mitzvah of hashava, and then later, when the guy was miyayish, since you had a mitzvah of hashava, you become now like the shomer for this person, and therefore, if he's miyayish, it's as if it's sitting in his house, and you cannot be miyayish on goods that are sitting in your house, like the Rabban said. He says, Simon, I have a simon. I will give the simon, but I'll take it. I is miyayish then, so it's a fluke is miyayish then. But right now, we cannot assume that he will be miyayish.
When you find something, you really have to put a timestamp because you have to find out eventually.
We'll see later about Yom Tovim and all that. Yom Tovim. We'll see.
You have to remember when you found it. Because
you usually do. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's say the water overflowed, and Rashi says like this tide comes in. But interesting how I don't know where in the world this tide you have like this. Rashi says that the tide could go out 10 or 15 parsois. Parsa is 4 kilometers, 4 mil. 10 or 15, talking about 60 mil or 40 mil.
There are places where there's a huge tidal fluctuation.
Not in, unless it's like either Guzman or Meir Pasai is also just a word used for great distances. Go to Hampton Island over there, it goes a kilometer into the water, the tide.
Places in Europe and then the French coast where it goes a long way.
Okay. The tide is always a few times. Yeah. You look at that, they give you a schedule exactly when the tide comes in, goes out through the moon. So in those cases, even though there's simon achman shaya, big machlekes in the poskim, what exactly in the Rishonim, what exactly is the reason why zutra shel yom? There is a simon, and the guy is screaming, and he says, "Hey, it's mine. Why are you allowed to keep it?" Come on, interesting. The Gemara says here, hold on. We already planned what's going to be tomorrow's Gemara, and this and that. What some say it's not to do with Yeyusha. Rachamana Shaya. The Torah says that this you're no longer the Balabas. Since you have no access to it, you're no longer the Balabas. And or others say no. This is a din in Yerush because it's 100% everybody's Yayish, and therefore even if he stands and screams, Batul Daik is a kolonum. Keep pleading with everything that somebody has no sin. Abaye says, "Lo have Yerush. Why don't you know it?" The fact that right now didn't know about it. And Rabbi says, "Have Yerush. When he will know about it, Miyayish, he'll be Miyayish. Meimarama simona isla begavo mahashta the Miyayish. Someone less than begavo. Sorry, I have no sim in it. So he's already Miyayish right now. Had he known it, been Miyayish. So Machlek is that according to Abaye, we look at the poil. According to Rabbi, had he known, it would have been Miyayish. So the Ravid asks a famous question. Brought down the Shitting verses. He asks, isn't this the machlekes of Bereira or Ein Bereira? Remember, we learned that if something, if I do something like now, and then later on, the two wives with the exact same name, and you write to get to with their name, and you say, well, whatever comes out of the door first turns out to be that's the one that's going to be the. So l'chayda Abaye seems to say Ein Bereira. We don't say because he's miyayish later as if he's miyayish now, and Rabbi says yes, Bereira. Since he's miyayish later as if he's miyayish now. So what's the machlekes of Bible Rabbi different than we have in the Tanoim and everywhere else Bereira? So the din itself is a machlekes. When does a Rabbi say yesh later? That's have a yesh. When does he say yesh? Is it only if the guy lepros miyayish then? What if the guy was not miyayish then? This guy was not miyayish, but what would Rabbi say then? Rabbi's whole word is, had he known it would be miyayish? What about he knew when he found out, a week later he found out, and he was not miyayish? Does Rabbi then made Abaye that there's no yesh at all? Or we don't really care. We don't need a yesh. The fact that the Ravid asked the question and he makes it hinge on yesh later is clear that the Ravid learns that you need a yesh later, and that yesh of later says Rabbi as if it happened right now. And Abaye says you don't. So the Ravid asks, isn't that the machlekes of yesh later? But many Rishonim learn you don't need, or Achrein learn, you don't need the yesh later. We don't care if you're miyayish later. Since most people will be miyayish later, therefore yesh does have a yesh. There's a beautiful shach. The shach says in Chesed Mishpat. Yeah, like the Ruba, exactly. The shach in Simashin and Chesed in Chesed Mishpat says a beautiful thing. He says it's a svar. He says, you know why a yesh shalem and lo have a yesh? He says, not because of ein bereira. You hold yesh bereira, let's say, but because what's your whole word? Had he known that he lost it, he would have given up hope. But had he known where he lost it, he would have gone back there and pick it up. So where do you drop? Where do you stop the had he known? So the Shach Never said Abaye holds, we don't. And that's why, had he known he lost it, you're miyayish, right? But had he known where he lost it, the first thing he would do is, natural reaction is go back to that place and see if it's still there. And therefore, yesh will have a yesh. So nothing to do with Bereira. Interesting, you swear. Okay, as far as used plus and others in many other cases, Geneva and all that. Anyway, let's go back to the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Toshma, now we ask a list of questions on Abaye. Interesting. And that's all the questions about it. Usually, when we say the Gemara, the style of the Gemara is to ask questions on one opinion, the prophet Allah like the other opinion. Not it. Let's go through the whole Mishnah. Remember, Abaye holds that's not yesh. Let's go through each case in the Mishnah. Tashma paid in the and scattered fruits. All the other they didn't know fell down. Why can't you keep it? We're talking about in the case we didn't know about it, right? Remember, you were threshing and then you left it behind. Big Machlik the Rambam and others, what the Dimma Vega Das is, we'll talk about another time. Talk about coming here. Mike Vazar scattered money, had a it's yours. Am I why? All the other you fell down. So now like we learned about Bishchak and Baba Kama towards the end. The Omar Adam Osil Mashmesh Bekisa Becho Shah V'Shah. People generally check their pockets to see if the money is there. Hanami too. Adam also Lamasha Bekisa Becho Shah. Even though Bishchak did not answer for this particular question, but we can use Bishchak to answer another question over here because it's Yesh Medas. It's Yesh Medas. So come here, Igulit, you're allowed to keep all of these things, like the loaves of bread and so on, and the bakers, because it's standard. Because either they're heavy or because they're precious, made the yadabil, you're aware, but you no longer have it. So you miyayish, and you left it there, you miyayish. Toshma, come in here. Shreinish lagoma had a shloim. This should go over my you don't fall down. So now me agav the chashiva because it's expensive. Mishamushi mishamush. We're talking about money. You're constantly checking, see if you have it in your pocket. So say me here. Okay, like Rabbi Yitzchak. Touch my mitzvah, but you see, this is a brayso. You found money in the shul when in the Beit Medrash where a lot of people there. Anyway, a lot of people there. How do you keep it? Why? Definitely the bailim is a lot of people. But again, he had no idea that it fell down. This Rabbi Yitzchak answers his answer. People generally check the pockets. Well, believe it or not. Now, Taisa really asks. So Rabbi Yitzchak answers on the Braisa. Why didn't you really answer on the Mishnah? And why we answer on the Braisa? It's the same question in the Mishnah. So Tais of the Bryce is actually a strong question. It doesn't, because it seems in the Bryce, even if it has a simon, you can keep it. Because it says here, the reason why you keep it is because there's so many people there. Why do you have to mention because there's so many people there? Just say there's no simon, so you can keep it. Is it I that even though there's a simon, because there's so many people there, the guy will abandon hope. And Nachman, it sounds like even the guy is still sitting at shul learning or davening, you can keep it straight away. You don't have to make any announcements, right now. Everybody here who lost something. So therefore, it's a more strong question. And the answer is because it's Yesh Medas. Talk about name, like when you let him go into somebody's field and collect a leket, he leaves you behind. When the nemushas walk through. Now, who are these nemushas? I mean, my nemushas. Who are these people? Once you walk through, everybody can come and collect. You don't have to be a poor person. These are the old people who walk with the cane. Let's say ladies. Old people walk with a walking stick. They walk very, very slow, very methodical. They would have picked up anything that they would have found. They would pick up everything they would have found. And therefore, all the other anim give up hope. Of Amai, and it's like you said, Lakute, Basa Lakute. There's one group after another group, a number of groups went there. They would have, they would have picked everything up. So the Gemara. My wine, heat, I need the poor, the local poor, they know that these guys were there, so they give up hope. Or because remember, the whole world Niyim has a right to this. They wouldn't be, they have no idea. Isn't that because Yesh Lemedas have a Yesh right over? Amri, we say, the poor people around the world will collectively think, since the local poor people, they're sure they took whatever there was to take. For us, there's no reason for us to come there and have a look. Surely the poor would have taken. But as a question, mentions the question, since all the poor people in the world have a shaykhs to it, including Ketanim, and Ketanim cannot be miyayish, as we'll see in the later. So how can anybody take it? Toshba Gavaneh. You have dried figs, but on the road, you found them on the road. You found them next to a field. It's filled with them. You found them. Where did it come from? Clear, it came from that neighboring field. So they would spread out in order to dry. A fig tree hanging over the road. You found figs underneath the tree, which will tell you where they come from the tree. You're allowed to keep it because you're allowed to keep it. No gzeh at all. Why? Because even though the owner doesn't know that these figs fell down to the ground, surely had he known, he would have been miyayish. Now, Taisha adds, why would it have been miyayish? Because the passers-by, he thinks that people will say it probably came from passers-by pocket. They won't automatically attribute it to the tree. Since it's hefker, you're potter from meiser, and that's the thing when it comes to figs. When it comes to elbit, when it comes to olives or boxer, carrot, usher, there is forbidden. Now, what's going on? What's the difference between figs or dates, and olives and carrot? Makes sense when you say why. Abaya like kasha. Why the beginning of that? The safe is very simple. According to Abaya, you can't keep years from that. How can you keep the olives or the carrot? How come the ratio you could keep it? Aga the chashiv mashmahu, because his tears are chashiv. He checks it all the time, so he definitely, if he saw it out there, he would have been miyayish. And also the Taina, he knows that it falls down all the time. So he knows that they constantly keep up falling the tree sheds. So therefore he's miyayish straight away. The sefer, the rova, kash rova, all the does have a year. So why look at by carrots and olives? We say you're not allowed to keep it. I mean, but even though the owner didn't know that it fell down, he would have been miyayish. So the kash tani so the first time we have a kash rova. Omar Abavu, shiny zais. Olives are different. When the olive falls down, and you look up and there's an olive tree there, you already know where it came from. So therefore, the owner won't be miyavish, even when he finds out he won't be miyavish, because he's convinced that everyone will realize where it came from. Because it doesn't get smashed, as we'll soon see. It's tough. So even when people step on it, it still looks like an olive. Figs, you'll see people step on it, and therefore it gets all crushed and everything else. The Gemara said, first of all, question is, so then why not the same thing when it comes to figs? The Gemara, Everyone knows that we came from probably right where it is. New York affiliation. I mean, so why is CS or they say figuring different. But papa te'ena in the philosophy messes that what as soon as it falls down, it gets all squished. So the balabas knows that fall down and is from the outset because it's mias.
If he would spread a sheet or something to catch the falling fruit,
It's clearly not
that's
miyais.
assuming that he's not.
Yes, but it's middle of the street, so. I'm gonna pop. Sorry, Toshma coming here. There's actually being Machalik Shem how to learn this Gemara here. The Gesais won't go to. I'm gonna pop. Sorry, Toshma coming here. Haganif Shenotel Mezev and Nasser Haganif came in and stole from A and gave it to B. Or the Chen Gazlan Shenotel Mezev and Nasser Gazlan is open. And steals from one person and brings it to another person. The Jordan came and took from one to another. Rashi says all rivers are the same, but why he mentioned Yarden? Because this town happened to live right by the Yarden. Others say because Yarden is the Tchum of Eretz Yisrael, and it's going, from outside Eretz Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael, or vice versa. Whatever it is, and you meyash. You saw it, you saw the stealing. And the God, the whole idea of God is discreet. We're talking about an armed bandit. So therefore, you saw and you meyash. What's an armed bandit or God? They Gaza, two kinds of God. There's an armed bandit, but it's still discreet. Only armed to you, or there's a Gazan open, brazenly open. 15 tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Okay, have a good day.